Alright, hey everybody, today I wanted to yap a little about Blood Hunter. So, I don't know why, but I've noticed that whenever I want to create a new character for, a campaign, I just go on Wikidot, do the usual, just scroll until I get an idea. And for some reason, my brain just ignores Blood Hunter. And I'm guessing it's because since it's a homebrew, my brain just takes it as an invalid candidate. But after looking at the actual class, it's changed my mind, and hopefully it'll change yours too. So here's why you should consider Blood Hunter as a core 5e class. So first of all, what's a Blood Hunter? Well, it's a homebrew class made by Matt Mercer, and in lore they're described as warriors that fight against greater evil by sacrificing their own vitality. In other words, they cut themselves for awesome effects. So they're basically just masochists. Now, if you don't know who Matt Mercer is, one, you live under a rock. Two, he's a voice actor for some anime and video game characters, and he's also the dungeon master of Critical Role, which is basically a live D&D show, and it's really popular. So because of this, the class is one of the more popular homebrews. Also, it's really fucking hot. Anyways, the class itself, it's basically a versatile, martial. It's a debuffing martial, basically. It like some other martials, it can rock either the strength or the dex build. You can go ranged if you want, and you can curse your enemies. And to do that, you use a sort of a DC, which is either intelligence or wisdom, which is cool too because you have a lot of options in combat and RP wise, and also intelligence is one of the more rare main stat for classes. So how the curses work is that basically you have a lot of options to choose from, and you can amplify the curses by hurting yourself, which, cool, awesome, self-harm in D&D, never thought I'd see that. But anyways, basically you use this hemocraft magic, which is like a blood dart magic type shit, and it scales the same way as the monk's martial dice. So whenever you want to amplify your curse, if you're level 1, then you'll take a d4 of damage, and then it scales all the way up to a d10. And then later on, you can coat your weapon with an element like fire, lightning, or cordial. You get other ones later on. You can also brand your enemies, which is a cool form of crowd control, and just the basic abilities that whenever they hurt your ally, they take extra damage, something like that. And later on, you also get increased movement, and then an increase on some of your throws, which is cool too. And yeah, just the general idea of the class is that it's just a martial class, which is based on debuffing enemies, and the cool niche is that you get to hurt yourself. So if you love being a masochist, you'll love this class. Anyways, so as for the subclasses, there's 4 that are offered. First of all, the Ghost Slayer, that's the most basic one. And basically you get access to another element when you coat your weapon, which is Radiant. You also get a cool movement ability, which sort of like you just pass through enemies, basically that, which I think is cool. And you also get Revive as your capstone. And then the Lycan one is the fur one. If you love furries, just pick this one. You basically have a werewolf transformation, which is fucking OP. And you get some crazy bonuses to your damage potential. You get regen, and the only downside is a DC 8 wisdom saving throw, which you get advantage on later on, which, yay, awesome. And yeah, that's it. That subclass is fucking markers, I think. And then the mutant one, it's also a good subclass, I believe, and it's kind of it's got a artificer alchemist vibe to it. You can concoct some mutagens, and they give you buffs, and they have some downsides, but most of them are really good. And Profane Soul, it's a kind of like it's an Eldritch Knight, but you get Warlock spells, which sucks dick. And you also, depending on the patron you choose, you get extra effects and extra spells, which that's the only cool part, I think, because the spellcasting is dog shit. All the subclasses gives you extra curse and extra branding options, which is cool too. So what makes it goated? First of all, as I mentioned before, the niche is it's kind of a new one. First of all, it's got a new type of edginess that's unlocked. With Warlock, it's selling your soul to a demon, or just a otherworldly thing. With Rogue, it's just I hate myself and I want to kill others. And with this, it's just I hate myself. you hate people so much that you hurt yourself so that you hurt them more. That's basically the edginess. Anyways, usually homebrew classes, they kind of feel unnecessary because other classes just fill the role but better, or they're just not broken, aka any fucking Godslayer class, 5e smokers. And yeah, Blood Hunters avoid the issue by just being unique on a gameplay sense. No classes in 5e trade HP for offensive buffs or debuffs to the enemy, except maybe some spells I think do this, but just no classes do that. And in game they're kind of like a glass cannon, which is cool because we have the monk for that, except that, as I mentioned before, it's a paper cannon, not a glass one. So finally we have a glass cannon now, and it actually does good damage. Well, it's got more potential than monk, at least. And playing a Blood Hunter for me is refreshing because you can constantly make decisions that are high risk but high reward, and as opposed of other classes that might be like, oh, I'm just gonna tap, and the other turn I'm gonna tap, and the turn after that I'm gonna tap. The turn after that though, I'm gonna tap again. Oh yeah, just this class is a bit more refreshing because you have more options to choose from. The flavor is unique. It's a warlock feeling, but except that Hemocraft magic is kind of the unique concept, so that it's got some vibes of other classes, but it's not actually that. So it's cool because it's got some familiarity. And finally, the base version of Blood Hunter can use intelligence, which, as I mentioned before, it's cool because not many classes do that. Also, as I mentioned before, homebrew classes just don't belong in a 5e setting because they're either over the top or they're just not necessarily. Like, as I mentioned, the fucking Godslayer class. I don't know what people smoke when they make homebrew classes, but anyways, Matt Mercer didn't smoke anything while making this class, at least, because the Blood Hunter doesn't have this issue. It's not excessive when it does its thing. Some subclasses might feel a little excessive, but the base class isn't. So yeah, it makes the class fit nicely in any setting, basically, because it's already got a vibe of warlock / fighter, so you don't need to change your world setting to include it in your clan, in your world, I mean. And officially, they gain their powers through like danger rituals, which they basically just sacrifice their life essence, which kind of take inspiration from the cults and the warlocks, which again, you don't need to modify your world building in order to include it. So it's kind of helpful if a player wants to play this. And finally, Blood Hunters are that broken. They're actually quite balanced, I believe. The extra damage on every attack isn't like okay. First of all, the weapon branding, the coding, these elements later on, most of them become like commonly resisted, and the damage you take isn't that big, and the damage you output isn't that high either. And the curses are far from game breaking. They're minor effects that they become impactful when you amplify them with your HP, but that's the risk behind it, right? It's more powerful, but you lose your HP, so it's a good gamble. And so yeah, as I said, the effects are strong, but they're not broken, and they have a limited usage. They can't be spent, right? Anyways, yeah, at low level, the damage penalty might be very punishing compared to the reward. So it kind of makes it so that you'd want to avoid amplifying your curses at low level, which kind of sucks because that's one of the big gimmicks of the class. And ignoring the gimmick of the class for multiple levels is kind of boring, right? But usually most campaigns take place between like 5 and 15, right? So when these campaigns take place, the problem isn't there anymore, right? So you'll rarely encounter this problem. But I think what the bigger problem is that some subclasses are interesting, to say the least, especially like the stats provided by it's quite strong, and I think it'd be fine. But the real problem is that Bloodlust, which what I'm getting at is supposed to be the downside of all these stats buffs. It's a DC 8 wisdom saving throw. Who the fuck is gonna fail that? So if you, as a Lycan, what the optimal thing would be is that you take wisdom as your DC, so that, you know, you invest more in wisdom, so you never fail the save because you have a good wisdom modifier. Well, you almost never fail it, right? So yeah. So do these issues ruin the class? I don't think so. No, there's a lot of issues, solutions to fix these issues. First of all, as I said before, most campaigns take places after the low level problem, so you don't really need to worry about that. However, the overtuned subclasses, some people might want to go with the banning them route, but I really don't. I have a problem with banning subclasses, just banning stuff in general, because I don't really like limiting a player's options. Because I think you could easily find time to tweak them yourself. Because I agree that some, stuff in D&D is quite, overtuned. And if you want to nerf them a little, I think you should just talk with a player that wants to play them and just agree on some changes that you could implement, right? It doesn't take that long. It's basically the reason why session zeros exist, in my opinion. Like, I think if a player came up to me and said, hey, I want to play Lycan Bloodhunter, I'd just tell them, okay, it's kind of broken, so I'd want to fix them a little with you. Is that fine? And hopefully they say yes. If they say no, well, fuck you. But they'll probably say yes, right? Because they want to play it. And I'll just, talk with them. It might take, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, to find some changes and fix them. And first of all, let's fix the DC, and then maybe lower some of the advantages that it gives you. And bada bing, bada boom, you're done. That's it. That's all basketball. Anyways, that's basically most of the fixes. There might be other issues, but I don't think they're that important. Or maybe I'm just missing them because I'm blind. Anyways, in conclusion, I think Bloodhunter should be considered as a core D&D class because it has an interesting niche. That one being that it has an interesting risk-reward system, and it can use intelligence as one of its main stats, and that's unique. Also the fact that it takes elements from the base game, so that makes it feel like it's not too alien from the base setting. And finally, it's quite balanced. It doesn't require too much tweaking in order to make it fit in your campaigns. Thank you for watching, and please consider liking and subbing because we're a new channel looking forward to make new and interesting content for you guys. Bye bye.